very, very warm welcome to all of you. I know that there are not too many students in our session this evening. So for anybody else who is going to be listening to the recording, I hope that you also find it useful, and that that if you've got any questions, you know that you can always just email me as well. Okay, so let me just check that I am recording. Yes, okay. So very, very warm welcome. We are having some power outages. We're having massive storms and winds here in Port Elizabeth. So if my sound quality does dip a little bit, please just let me know so that I can re-say it or just reconnect or something. For now, it seems good. So I'm trusting that everybody can hear me. Before I start, can I just get a thumbs up quickly that my sound is okay for now? Just a little thumbs up just to confirm that everything. Thank you so much, Sunette. Thank you for that. Thank you, Gemma. Appreciate it as well. So guys, if at any point you do lose me a little bit, please just let me know, then I can come back and readdress it. I don't want you guys to miss anything. So this is our BMNG6221 session, in which we are going to be looking at task 1 or part 1, which is part of our POE. So for those of you who joined our session a few weeks ago, you'll see I'm going to be speaking about the same topics that I would have addressed with you in our part 1 session, where we also looked at some of the theory for that, and I'm just going to be unpacking it in a bit more detail. So those of you perhaps would have started already on part 1. You would have already looked at some of the concepts and some of the ideas. You would have had a read through the NDP so that you would have seen what the assignment or part 1 is indeed all about. So remember that part 1 in itself is only 20 marks, and you'll see it is due on the 4th of September. So it is due next, what's the 4th of September? Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday, it will be due. So next Wednesday, you will have part 1 that is going to be due. So it is also on the slides. It comes up later. Obviously, just to reiterate, it's an individual POE, and it's going to count 20 marks. So 20 marks is relatively small in the greater scheme of things when we think about assignments that are worth 100 marks. But these 20 marks really set the tone for the entire POE. So I really want everybody, I want to encourage everybody to spend some time thinking very wisely and very deeply about the product that you're going to be selling and about the actual work that you're going to be doing. So even though it's only 20 marks, your actual project is only worth 20 marks, if I can say that. The assignment is for all the rest, so everything else is based on this part 1, this POE that you would be doing there as well. Okay, so as a starting point, part 1 is telling us that if you've read through the assignment, they are telling you that there are lots of problems, if we can say that, within South Africa, and our job as a budding entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur that is going to be budding and looking at, starting something new, so a new entrepreneur that we're going to be looking at, we're going to take the NDP, which is the National Plan for Development, the National Development Plan, and we need to try and address one of those problems or challenges identified in the NDP. Now, the National Development Plan in itself is over 400 pages long, okay? I think if I remember correctly, it's 463 or something like that. So it's way too much for us to read and to try and find out. So what we have done is they have narrowed it down to 4 different chapters in the NDP. So we are only going to be focusing on chapter 4, 9, 10, and 12. And again, you don't have to study the whole chapter. You don't have to read the whole chapters. You are going to just find one idea that comes from these chapters, and you are going to develop a product or service that is going to address this problem. So our instruction is for you to think about a feasible business idea that will address the problem or challenge identified from your chosen area or theme. So these themes come from this National Development Plan, and you are going to choose one idea that is going to address that problem or challenge. So this is the overview of what you could choose from. So the first one coming from chapter 4, any infrastructure, economic infrastructure challenge that you would have. So remember, when we speak about economic infrastructure, we look at railroads, we look at normal roads, we look at robots in the country. So any built environment within South Africa, remember this is specific for South Africa, would be part of the infrastructure. Okay, so anything that would be part of this infrastructure would be a problem. So infrastructure are the physical structures, the physical elements, roads, power lines, anything else to do with transport. So that could be shipping. Any infrastructure within a country could be part of the infrastructure. So you need to think of our infrastructure in South Africa. The fact that our roads, for example, have got potholes, or some of our robots don't work, our railroads don't work, anything like that would be a problem. It would be a challenge. You could find an idea to try and fix that. Okay, anything to do with education, training, and innovation. This could be the lack of schools around South Africa. It could be the lack of teachers around South Africa. It could be to do with the fact that children are coming to school hungry. So that in themselves is a problem. Maybe they don't have access to the correct materials or textbook. Yeah, just the fact that maybe the teachers aren't properly qualified. Maybe there are not enough teachers in certain areas. So anything that would improve education, training, and innovation. So any innovative idea would also be part of the infrastructure within South Africa. Then the third one that we're going to look at, promoting health. So you'll see in the NDP chapter 10, they speak about how to improve healthcare systems. They speak about how to ensure that nurses and doctors and other medical staff are properly trained and are ready to serve. They speak about the fact that there are not many rural doctors or medical staffs available in rural areas. Many doctors and that cannot get to rural areas. Hospitals are full. Hospitals are not so hygienic anymore. So all of these are problems, and we need to try and address these challenges. We need to try and fix, again, in inverted commas, these problems that we would have. And then the final theme that you could choose from would be to be safer within the country. Okay, so trying to build safer communities within South Africa. Okay, so any type of product, service that would be able to build a safer community within the country would be acceptable for you. So you do not have to do all of them. Remember, you are going to choose one. There, exactly, Nayo. As I was saying it, you asked the question. You are going to choose one of these challenges, one of these themes, one of these subheadings, if I can call it that, underneath these things. Only one. So if you are, let's say you are choosing build a safer communities, what is your problem? What is the challenge under that theme that you are going to be trying to address? We don't expect you to try and fix everything in our country. No, I'm joking. Just one idea. Remember, your idea that you choose here is going to be your idea that you are going to still work on your final POE in November. So spend some time really thinking about the idea, thinking about the product, or thinking about the service that you would want to do. Okay, so you are going to choose one idea that you are going to run with for the whole semester. Okay, so the idea that you pick now is the idea that you are going to choose. And obviously part one is all about selecting that idea. So we're going to start at the very basics of where does that idea come from? How does that idea generate? Is it a good idea? What is our business name? So we're going to start at the very, very basics. The building blocks of the entire POE would be all about the idea generation. So once you've read the NDP, once you've highlighted your idea, once you kind of have an idea of the idea that you want to be doing, then you can actually start with the actual POE that you would do. And this POE has got 5 questions, short questions, not difficult questions, but you will have to spend some time working on them. So that's the general structure of part 1. Please let me know if there are any questions at this stage. I see now, I think I've answered your questions there as well. So please, guys, if at any stage you've got questions, just let me know. So question 1 is asking us, if we read the actual question, it's saying, identify one of these challenges. 1, okay, so again, highlighting 1, and you are going to complete these questions on that one challenge or problem or sort of situation, okay? So that's the idea. Question 1 for 5 marks. Briefly describe the problem, briefly describe the challenge, briefly describe what it is that is wrong, what it is that is the challenge, what is the problem. So do some research on the problem and write at least 5 good sentences that would describe the problem in detail. So let's say, for example, we are going to speak about let me just think, the fact that that the teachers are not trained. So in the NDP, in chapter 11 of the NDP, where they speak about education, they say that many of the teachers are undertrained and they are just working in these conditions, but they don't actually know how to teach. Let's say, for example, that's the problem that I identified. I can't just say the problem. I need to explain the problem. I need to give statistics about the problem. I need to find information about the problem. So something along the lines of, in South Africa, according to the NDP, in South Africa, 43% of teachers teaching in rural Eastern Cape are not properly qualified to teach, and they are absent for 50% of the time. So the fact that they are not at school and that they are not qualified is having an impact on children's education, and the pass rates in those schools are whatever the percentages. So can you see I'm adding facts? Okay, so I'm doing facts, I'm adding facts, I've got good sentences that describes the problem. So we need at least 5 good sentences, and remember to reference. Where did you get the information from? So where did the information come from? Don't forget to reference the information. So describe the problem so that we know, when I read question 1, I can sort of gather not what your idea is, but I know what problem from the first question. I know what you're going to be addressing and which section of the NDP that it falls under. Okay, so describe the problem. If you are speaking about infrastructure, maybe you are saying that robots do not work, for example. It describe, why is that a problem? The robots are not working during peak traffic, which means that there is a buildup of traffic during peak times. This is a repercussion because then people are becoming late for work, and even if they leave earlier, it has also shown an increase in accidents. People don't know how to use the robot as a 4-way stop, so the increase in accidents by 38%. I'm just making that up, but you get the idea of how you're going to describe the problem for 5 marks. Okay, let's just quickly see thumbs up. Happy with question 1? Pretty straightforward. Please remember to reference. So it's very, very important that you are going to reference question 1. Thank you, Sanette and Gemma. Please, if at any stage you remember a question, you can just let me know as well. So once you have question 1, remember that is the problem that you need to address. In question 2, you're going to try, and I always say to students, fix the problem. But remember, we don't expect you to fix the problem, but that's just how I'm going to describe it. So in question 2, your job is to now think of an idea that is going to fix the problem. What idea do you have that's going to address this problem, that can sort of alleviate the problem? Okay, so the question is going to say, if we read it from the POE document, it says, identify at least 4 sources of ideas that you consulted in order to come up with a solution to fix the problem. Okay, in order to do this, you need to draw a mapping document showing all the ideas you initially had and their sources. Then you need to scratch out all the failed ideas and highlight the winning idea. So it sounds like an absolute mouthful. So I'm going to break it down for you guys step by step. Again, the mark value there, 5 marks. And ladies and gents, I want to say that this is probably the most work that you're ever going to have to do for 5 marks, because it's quite a big question. Quite a lot of thinking is going to go into these 5 marks. You will notice that I have given you some page references. So you'll see in your textbook, remember I'm working with the 6th edition of the textbook. You can look on page 12 for some ideas, idea sources. And then most importantly, on page 58, they give you a whole list of idea sources. That word sources means where does the idea come from? Okay. So at this stage, I know that you might have your idea straight away in your head, but we want to know, what was your thought process before you got to the idea? Remember, as an aspiring entrepreneur, we have many, many ideas running around our heads, in our heads, before we get to the actual idea that we are going to focus and work on. And that's what we want to see. We want to see the brainstorming. We want to see all the ideas that you possibly had that could have solved that problem. And then obviously from here, you are going to pick your one idea. But before you get to the one idea, we need to know, well, how many ideas? What were all the ideas that you had in your head? And your first step is to identify 4 sources where these ideas came from. So you need to ask yourself, where did my ideas come from? And then from those 4 sources, you are going to brainstorm as many ideas as you can for each source. Remember that these ideas need to be solving the problem you identified in question 1. These ideas can be as crazy as they want, okay, because they are just ideas. It doesn't mean that that's what you're going to implement. The structure of question 2 is going to be done in a mapping document. So what I have done is I'm going to just highlight. I'm going to do the mapping document. So just give me a second to load it up here. Come now. Just sorry, guys, I seem to have lost you for a second, but I'm back again. So I can see my document is on here, and I do have connection. So I wasn't speaking then, but I did have a disruption in connection there. So this is kind of how your ideas are going to look, or how your question, your answer is going to look. And let's start from the very beginning. Okay, so step 1, in the middle, you're going to have your ideas. How you decorate and draw this to you. You can have circles, squares, it doesn't really matter, as long as we can see it's a mapping document. And then you are going to list all the different sources. Remember, you need 4 different sources. Now, remember, a source can be, where does the idea come from? The idea comes from a friend. The idea comes from a YouTube video that I watched. The idea comes from a newspaper article that I read. The idea came from a market or a fete or a trade fair that I went to. The ideas came from the internet. The ideas came from a family member. My idea came from my own personality or my own skills that I have, from my own experiences. The ideas came from a shopping center. So any source, any place where your ideas come from, you are going to write under idea source. So you're going to say here, for example, let's just say friends. That's where my idea source came from. My second idea source could have been, I'm just giving you some examples, YouTube. Maybe I attended a market. And then maybe I read something in a newspaper. So you are going to write all the different idea sources. You need 4 different idea sources. Under each one, here is where you are going to write your actual ideas. So underneath here, you are going to write your actual ideas. I've said write at least 3 ideas under each source just to make sure you get the full 5 marks. Remember, like I said, these ideas can be as crazy as you like because this is just your brainstorming. Okay, so let's say our problem, what was our problem? The lack of teacher training. So the fact that teachers are not trained within the school. We need to try and find resources that can train. One idea was to, my one friend, one evening around a braai, she said to me, I need to send all teachers to China to get training. Okay, that was the idea. On YouTube, and there was a subscription to a teaching channel. Okay, to a teaching channel. That's what I saw on YouTube. So all my teachers can be trained if they watch this channel on YouTube. Okay, but can you see that I'm just brainstorming ideas of how it can. I'm just checking there where you can see it. And then I read in the newspaper that there was actually a 6 month teacher course in soft skills. So teaching teachers soft skills that I do. So this I read in the newspaper and I thought, geez, that would be a good idea. And so you go on until all your ideas have been done. So like I say, your ideas can be as crazy as what they could be. Maybe you've attended a market and you saw some teaching tools or let's say teacher tools or resources that you could buy for all the teachers to train them. So here that I can use, that I've brainstormed. And I always say to the students, try and have at least 3 ideas under each source or source where they come from. So once you've done that, once you've got all your ideas, all your brainstorming, your ideas can be of your ideas can be as crazy as what you want, because remember, it is brainstorming. Step 3. So when we get to step 3 here, scratch out the ideas. For example, there's absolutely no ways that South Africa can send all our teachers to get training. I'm scrapping that idea. There's also no ways that the government maybe could afford to buy all these beautiful teaching resources that I saw at the market. Then you think to yourself, sure, subscription to the teaching channel sounds nice, but will the teachers actually subscribe to the channel? Will they actually find benefit from it? Let's scratch that idea out as well. Okay, but hang on a second. If I put together a crash course, a 6 months crash course where I'm teaching teachers to be on time, to actually attend school, to teach them values and how to teach, that could actually be impactful. That idea could actually work. That sounds like an idea that I can actually run with. I'm going to highlight. I don't have a highlighter. Actually, I think I do. Let me see. No, I don't, but I can have a highlighter there on my idea that is going to work. So I've highlighted on my computer here the idea that is going to actually work. So this is exactly how you are going to present your answer. This is exactly how you're going to present answer question 2, and this is obviously then for the 5 marks that it would be represented over here. So remember, ladies and gents, on the referencing for this, your ideas are your own ideas. No need to reference your own ideas, but wherever you decided to get your sources from, that you are going to reference. So you'll see if you've used your textbook to actually write the sources here, you are going to reference the textbook, Fun Arts. Okay. If you have used a different source or different reference to find where the sources are, that is what you're going to reference here. Very important, I must be able to see your idea that has won, the best idea, the chosen idea, the chosen one. you must be able to see. So I must be able to see where the ideas are coming from, and I must be able to see all the ideas, and you can just scratch them out. Okay, so that was, again, seems like a lot of information, but I hope that made sense to you guys. Happy with that, ladies and gents? So, like I said, a lot of thinking that goes into this work for 5 marks. But can you agree that this exact question that you see here, this exact answer that you see on the screen here, is where everything is going to stem from? So your entire POE is going to come from this very idea that I'm busy circling round and round here. Your whole entire semester is going to be based on this idea. So make sure that you think carefully about the idea that you actually want to do. Because then you'll see in question 3, we're going to take that idea and you're going to tell me what idea it is. So you're writing 3 sentences for 3 marks. Explain in no more than 3 sentences the business idea that you intend to implement and how that will solve the problem and give your business a name. So 3 sentences for 3 marks. The first mark, explain the idea that you want to implement. I want to implement a 6-month teaching course that includes soft skills and teaches the value that they are actually, the impact of the value that they are actually having in the classroom. This will hopefully empower teachers to attend school more regularly and to actually impart their knowledge and be able to time management, whatever other soft skills I'm teaching them. So you're included on how it's going to solve the education problem. My business name is going to be called Teaching 101. Okay, let's say, for example. So I've got 3 sentences which I'm going to actually use the idea for the rest of the semester. So step number 1 for the first mark, explain the business idea. Sentence number 2, briefly describe how that is going to solve the problem. And step number 3, give your business a name. So think carefully in this question. Remember, like I've reiterated multiple times already, this is the question that is going to, or this is the idea that you are going to use your whole POE for. So only 3 marks, so relatively straightforward, but just stick to those 3 breakdowns and you will get the 3 marks for those. Question 4, let's just move on then to question 4. Identify any 2 risks that you think will affect your business. Okay, so what type of risks will affect your business? Identify and briefly explain. Financial risks, personal risks, psychological risks, security, natural, legal, competition, technical. There are so many risks out there that might affect. You need to choose 2 that you think will affect your business. So, for example, I might say that my teaching course might have a financial risk because I'd have to maybe get international funding or government funding to actually produce this course or to make this course. Maybe teachers would not want to buy the course or enroll in the course. So how am I actually going to generate a profit for the business? It might also be a psychological risk to me because I'm getting so invested in these teachers and I'm getting frustrated because maybe it's not having the desired effect that I want. So psychologically, I've given up a job to start this new venture and maybe it hasn't worked out. Your idea might have a natural disaster risk if you are installing whatever it may be and you risk of flooding or whatever, storms. Legal risks, maybe your business needs to have some legal red tape that you need to be thinking of. So any risks would be acceptable here. So identify and explain 2 risks for 2 marks. So 1 mark for each risk that you would be. Remember, a risk is something that's going to affect your business. Something that could have a negative impact on your business would be identified as a risk. Okay. Happy with question 3 and 4, guys? Then I will move on to the final question. Thank you again, Sunette, and everybody else. So question 3 and 4 are relatively smaller questions. Remember, question 3 is for 3 marks. Question 4 is for 2 marks. So we are currently on 15 marks. And then our final 5 marks. I always love to tell the students here that this is a free question, a Bonseller question. Free marks. What is question 5? Question 5 is a reflection on you as an entrepreneur. So each one of you guys would reflect on your own characteristics, your own skills as an entrepreneur. So ultimately, question 5 is asking us, do you think you have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur or not? And it's written from your own perspective. So I want to see Gemma, Nayo, Sunette, Vanessa, Lemforce, do you think you would be a good entrepreneur or not? So it's your own reflection on your own characteristics, on your own skills that would make you a good entrepreneur. So perhaps some of you have already got your own business and you can reflect on that. Perhaps some of you think to yourself, hang on a second, there's no ways that I want to be an entrepreneur. I would rather follow someone. I'm not good at taking risks. I'm not good at making decisions. I'm happy for someone else to make the decisions and I just follow those things. I'm quite happy. So I would not be a good entrepreneur. The fact that I need to put all my efforts and things into this business that might not work scares me to no end, and I'd rather not take the risk. Or you might say, yes, I'm a risk taker and I love running with ideas and I'm passionate about this topic and I really think I have what it takes. I'm driven, I'm hardworking, and I want to be in control of my own destiny. So I think I would be a great entrepreneur. So for 5 marks, you are looking for a good reflection on your entrepreneurial characteristics, and it's going to be 250 words. Okay, so you are reflecting on your own entrepreneurial characteristics, and then at the bottom you just put your word count at the bottom of the paragraph that you have written. So writing a paragraph on your own entrepreneurial characteristics, you can see the word the mark allocation there for 5 marks, the final 5 marks to round us up to 20. You are looking for a decent characteristics that you would need that will form part of your own entrepreneurial characteristics, your own identity. And yeah, be honest here, guys. Like I say, it's always 3 marks. If you give a good reflection, you will get those 5 marks. So relatively straightforward, no complications with it. Sorry, I moved on. But yes, are there any questions? Remember, the project is due on the 4th of September. You are going to submit it via VC Learn as per normal before midnight, so 23:59. Try and get it in way before that, because I know that there are lots of assignments that are due on the 4th of September. So rather try and get your assignment in before the time there as well. 4th of September, the 4th of the 9th. Let me just quickly grab my diary here before I give you, let me just check that I have, 4th of September. So that is next Wednesday. So part 1, only part 1. So you'll see in your POE document, part 1, part 2, part 3, and the final POE are all listed in the document. Remember, you are only submitting part 1. So you are only doing these 5 questions for the 4th of September. So for next week, Wednesday, your document is only going to have these 5 questions that we've discussed here. So we're going to look at part 2. We're going to look at part 3 later on. You are only focusing on the 4th of September. Yeah, 4th of September. That's how I still have it in my diary. And obviously, that time is still 23:59. So let's just it's such a random time. I always try and encourage the students who submit before that, because remember, if you're 1 second late, you're late. I don't get the assignment. So rather give yourself 20 minutes to learn. You never know with VC Learn trying to generate safe assignment. There's always some delay. So rather don't cause yourself any stress or gray hairs. Get it in on time. Remember to reference, remember to edit, remember to, just submit on time on VC Learn. Any questions? I hope that this guide was helpful. I have also put this document, a soft copy of this PowerPoint that I've been presenting you. It is also in your more resources folder. I will make the recording available to you so that you can also refer back to it. But yeah, I hope you, so the word count on question 5 is 250 words. So that's the maximum word count that you would have there. So if we just go back now, let me just quickly show you. No more than 250 words that we would need to be part of that. So I can highlight it here as well, 250 words. Just put your word count at the end of the question so that I can also see it. Yeah. So I will, like I say, I will make the recording available. But I do believe that this at least unpacked it a little bit more, unpacked it in a bit more detail for you. And please, guys, if you have any questions, send me an email. Let me know. Let me know if there are anything else that we would do that. Yes, 100%. You can do it on any platform that you see fit. So if you want to do it on Paint or make an image on it, if you want to do it on Word, you can insert different shapes. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, your actual mind map. You can do a simple basic shape editing in your Word document. That's also acceptable, but you can do it via Paint as well. No problem. I'll stay online still for some time. If there are any other questions, if you don't have any other questions, you're welcome to log off from the session, go start working on part 1. And I do look forward to reading all the wonderful ideas. I know it's always such a nice assignment. There are such nice ideas that come out of the group. So I'm looking forward to really reading your ideas. And from here, we will take it further as well. So yeah. You will obviously get feedback on part 1, on your idea, on what I think about the idea, and that will really help going forward when you submit part 2. But I don't want to get ahead of myself now. So that really is all from my side, everybody. Thank you so much, Sunette. Have a lovely evening further. I will stay online. If there's any other questions that you may have, please let me know. If not, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful evening further. Enjoy, stay warm, stay safe, and I look forward to getting your submissions on Wednesday. Good night. Bye.